Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Al Troutwig from MSG Network, and we'd like to welcome you to the MSG training facility in beautiful Westchester County on a not-so-beautiful day. Before we get started, on behalf of Madison Square Garden, the New York Knicks, MSG Networks, and especially the New York Rangers, we would like to congratulate Sam Rosen for being named as the recipient of the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award, which signifies his entrance into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Sam, as you said in 1994, this one will last a lifetime. Now, we are here today, obviously, for a different purpose, to introduce the 28th head coach in the history of the New York Knickerbockers, Jeff Hornacek. We'd like to welcome his family here today, wife Stacy, son Tyler, son Ryan, his wife Casey, and daughter Abby. Welcome. Jeff began his coaching career in 2010 as an assistant coach with the Utah Jazz and became the head coach of the Phoenix Suns in 2013. As a 14-year NBA pro, Jeff amassed over 15,000 career points, was named an NBA All-Star in '92, was a two-time three-point shootout champion, and as a member of the Jazz made back-to-back NBA Finals appearances in 1997 and 1998. In 2002, Utah retired jersey number 14 to honor Jeff, and he will now lead the iconic franchise of the New York Knicks for the 2016 season as it celebrates its 70th anniversary. And now to lead us off, to start things off, the president of the New York Knicks, Phil Jackson. Phil?
Thanks, Al. Well, we're happy today to celebrate this moment. We have known Jeff for a long time. Obviously, the NBA community is small. Had close relationships with him in the late 90s, and wondered as he retired when he was going to come back to coaching, which he did about 6-7 years ago. He was a shooting coach prior to that, and we watched the development of players in Utah and admired that he was interested to come back to the game. He fit the profile of a lot of the guys that we like to feature in our teams back in the 90s and the 2000s. So I always admired his skill and his basketball knowledge on the floor. Paid attention to his initial year in Phoenix and subsequent seasons, and was able to contact him in April and talk to him about having an interview, which worked out for both of us, as his daughter graduated from USC a couple weeks ago, and we were both there in that vicinity and were able to start our process. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you, Coach.
Now the general manager of the New York Knicks, Steve Mills. Steve?
Thanks, Al. This was an interesting process for us. It's interesting because when Phil and I sat and talked about the guys that we were going to interview for this job, the first interview he put on the schedule was with Jeff. It just happened that it was going to coincide with his daughter's graduation, but that was the first interview that was on the schedule. And we went through the process, and I wasn't able to sit in on the physical interview with Jeff, but Phil, they plugged me in and we did a video conference for a while. And later that evening, Phil called me up and said, "Steve, I think this is our guy." And I said, "Okay, let's get him back into New York and let's have a sort of a face-to-face where we can really sit down and talk a little bit longer." And that's where it ended up. And I was, after spending time with Jeff and knowing him in passing, I think this is a great opportunity for the Knicks. We look forward to having him coach our team.
And now sitting under the banner of Red Holtzman's 613 wins, Jeff Hornacek. Jeff?
Thanks, Al. First of all, thanks, Coach. Thanks, Steve, for bringing me in here. I'm excited, honored to be coach of this great franchise. I come in here, you look at the great players that are up on the banners from all the years, and from the time that I was playing, it was always a special feeling coming here to New York to play. There was actually one time I thought I was going to get traded from the Sixers to the Knicks. The great writer Phil Jasner had called me at midnight one night and said, "You were traded to the Knicks." I'm like, "Well, I haven't gotten a call yet." So I thought I was going to be here as a player, but I'm really excited to be here, and my family's excited to be here to coach the Knicks and go through this process of getting them back to, I think, where all the Knicks fans want. want us to be, and I think it's going to be an exciting ride. So, again, I'm very appreciative of the offer. I think we got a great mix of players. We got some veterans, got some young players, and as a coach, that's what you're looking for, that balance. So we're excited to get this going.
Now, guys, you know the drill. We'd like to hear your questions and answers. Please raise your hand, state your name, your affiliation, and wait for the microphone to come to you. Questions?
Brian Mahoney from the Associated Press. Phil, when you said after the season you would probably hire someone you knew personally, we took it to mean someone who would, played under you or coached under you. There are so many of those kind of players. What was it about Jeff that made you, go outside that circle and look to him?
Knowing him as a competitor and as a player and as a coach, the demeanor, things I like about Jeff, he's a person that you can relate to. And when I first made the call, he took the call from a hospital room where his mother-in-law was rehabbing from a knee. And it's one of those things that, was just right off the bat, a communication level that went on forward from there. So that comfort zone was possible, and I think the basketball knowledge that he has and the familiarity he has with playing basketball are things that attracted us together.
Mark Berman, New York Post. Phil and Jeff, what kind of offense do you think you guys are going to run? What kind of system? Is this triangle part of it or not?
That's a surprising question.
Second, I thought it would be first. I mean, it's really a long ways off. I'm glad you got it out, Mark, right off the bat. It's very important. So Jeff was like, is this basketball? And I said, well, I guess so. He said, well, I think we played basketball over the years. So incorporated in that system of basketball, no matter where you're at. But in our conversation, playing for Cotton Fitzsimmons, I told him that Cotton was the replacement for Tex Winter at Kansas State, and was one of the first guys that wrote a book or mimeographed copies of Tex Winter's book and handed it out in his clinics. So he said, well, I didn't know that. Cotton never said that, but Cotton employed all of that stuff in his offense. So it's all part of basketball, and Jeff recognizes that.
I think that's the biggest thing. There must be something about the word triangle. Maybe we'll call it the circle offense. I don't know. But when you look at the way, to me, it's just a way to space the floor. When I was talking with Coach in LA and started to look at things that I would like to do out of the triangle offense, he goes, yeah, you can run every play you want out of the triangle offense. So really, it's not, I think people have this notion. In Utah, when I played, we had the 1-4 set. It was just a way to space the floor. It's the same reads, a lot of the same reads that we did then. In today's game, with a lot of the pick and rolls, it's just reading basketball. And so, again, when I look at it, if you take the normal setup of a team, most of the teams, you can watch Golden State, you can watch almost any of these teams that run pick and rolls. The spacing, if you just moved one guy 6 feet to the side and one guy 6 feet down, you're in the same exact alignment. So again, it's something that we can run a lot of plays out of. It'll be a part of our offense, and it's something that has worked. It's won championships, and I guess when I went to interview with Phil, and we were talking about, I said, man, New York, what better place to coach in New York? And of course, if you can't beat them, join them. So we lost twice to his teams when he was coaching the Bulls. So it's a good set for the court, and you can run a lot of things out of it.
Coach, I'm just curious what specifically you took from both the early Suns team you had that succeeded perhaps beyond expectations, and also just some of the later teams and that they sort of failed to live up to that. Just specifically into this job now?
Yeah, the NBA is a crazy business. For one year, everything might go right. Another year, everything might go wrong. There's a lot of circumstances that happen with a lot of teams. Could be injuries, could be trades, it could be team chemistry, whatever it is. So you just you take all that stuff in, you see what works, what didn't, and take it to the next place. And I feel like I can do that here with the Knicks.
Christian Winfield, about.com. Coach, do you feel that the team as currently constructed can compete for a playoff spot, or do you feel that it's missing someone that needs to be added this summer?
Well, unless you win the championship, you're always looking to improve. And so I believe that these guys will do stuff to improve the team. But we have a lot of good pieces on this roster. I think it's always a goal to get in the playoffs. It's been a couple of years, but I anticipate when we go into the season, that's going to be the goal for our team, to get back in the playoffs.
Otis Livingston, WCBS TV. Welcome to New York.
Thank you.
As you look at the roster right now, what is it that excites you the most?
Well, you're always, you have a superstar on the team in Carmelo. You got I thought he was only 7'1", but these guys tell me he's actually 7'3", young guy. And Kristaps that is going to be able to do a lot of things as he moves forward in his career. He's got inside game, he's got outside game. At 7'3", how's somebody going to guard him? Defensively, he can help block shots and be a presence inside. So those two really good pieces there. And then you have all the other role players that are going to fill their little niche on the team. And it's got a good balance of vets, got some young guys. So that's what you're looking for.
I guess I have two questions, one for Phil and one for Jeff. Phil, when you look at this, how much of the fact that with Derek's situation, it was his first time coaching, he didn't even have experience as an assistant. How different is it when you have someone that at least has head coaching experience and kind of maybe the freedom to try different things or to kind of maybe tweak certain things? And then with Jeff, so much talk about your offense and kind of your philosophy on offense. What are your core beliefs defensively, and how do some of those things change given the types of post players that you have defensively on this team?
Cool.
Well, it's funny, we were talking about this the other day, of a lot of offensive players, when they start coaching, they're really looking at their defense and what they can do defensively. I played for different coaches over the years, Cotton Fitzsimmons, who was very offensive-minded, to Jerry Sloan, who was very defensive-minded. To me, I've always played the game and always want to coach it where the guys play tough, they play hard-nosed defense, and we want that to guide us to get out and run and then get in that open court. So, the biggest thing is that effort defensively to lay it out there, because it's going to make your offense easier. To me, it's, if you want to win and win big, you got to buckle down defensively. And with the big guys that are on the roster, you can't just rely on those guys to protect the basket. It starts from the guards putting pressure on the ball. It's the wing guys maybe denying sometimes to get the team out of their rhythm. So it's a team, just like offense, defense is that team effort that everybody needs to buy into if you want to be good.
I looked at a model that was used in Indiana. Larry Bird was hired, and he hired some substantial assistants that came along with him. Carlisle, Dick Harder, defense and offensive coordinators. And that was a model I thought was appropriate to have with Derek coming in and learning how to coach and having guys that had coached, head coaching experience in Jim Clemens and Kurt Rambis, et cetera. This is entirely different. This is a coach that knows how to run practices and has had that experience and is reflective about his past and has experience in a variety of systems. So that's a different model, obviously, than what we're doing. A team that was featured here 2 years ago, although they had come from 3 years ago, a decent year 4 seasons ago where they did win 50 games, had a collection of older players, veteran players, that went from Tyson Chandler, JR, Iman, et cetera, Stoudemire, Carmelo, et cetera. We've started all over again. We've cleaned our roster, we've garnered money and space, and we've changed the context of what this team is. And so this is a coach that can teach and also has an idea of what kind of practice he wants to run and how he wants to do business.
Ian Begley from ESPN.com. Phil and Steve, how strongly was Kurt considered for this full-time position? And just a follow-up for Jeff, do you know if Kurt will be on your staff?
No, Kurt was strongly considered for this job. It was in the interview process from my end of it. Steve?
Yeah, from when Phil and I talked about candidates, Kurt was in the list of guys that we talked about, and Phil wanted to make sure that he gave Kurt every opportunity to have an open conversation of what he would do with this job for in the long haul. And ultimately, Phil made the decision, or we made the decision that we did, but Kurt was given every opportunity, and he deserved to be given that opportunity.
And as far as Kurt, I thank these guys. After they hired me, we had a 30th wedding anniversary trip planned. So they said, I know how important family is. Go on your trip, and we'll do all this when you get back. So, we're still looking at how we're going to have the coaching staff set up. We've talked about some certain things, and I've talked to Kurt a little bit already. I want to talk to him more in the coming week here. And Kurt and I played together in Phoenix. I know Kurt pretty well, so we'll continue to talk, and if it works out, we'll figure it out then.
Mark Berman, New York Post. Phil, you had mentioned Jeff had great leadership skills, and you've talked about transformational leadership being important to you. What brought you to that conclusion with Jeff that he's going to be that type of leader you're looking for?
I think we had a 6-hour conversation, and I think we discussed a lot of the aspects of the philosophy and dealing with players, management, accumulation of talent, teaching, coaching young players, millennials, children, family, and trip to Cuba. All contributed to that conversation.
Coach, there was a poll on Twitter, and it was among Phoenix Suns fans, and the majority of them felt that you should not have been fired despite the 14-35 record. Do you feel that this opportunity now in New York is sort of a chance to sort of clear your name of that 14-35 record that many felt was not your fault?
Yeah, I don't really worry about that. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of circumstances that go into it for a lot of coaches. That's in the past. I'm excited to be here with the Knicks on a historic franchise that, I think every player would want to play at. I grew up in a suburb of Chicago, and when you think of sports towns, what do you think of? I think of Chicago, I think of Boston, New York, maybe Philly. Those are great sports towns. The passion that is in those towns, in those towns, we call them towns, cities, is something that every player wants to be around. And my hope is now that I'm here, that we can get some of those players to come in here. And if you want to win, what better place to win than New York? And so to me, it's a great opportunity, and the excitement level is just, I know we can do great things. So we move forward and go on.
Jeff, when Phil reached out to you to talk about this job, were you surprised at all, again, given kind of the amount of people he's coached and worked with, when this became an opportunity? Was it something that kind of you were thinking was possible at all, this job?
Yeah, I really didn't think it was. And when my agents called and said, Phil's going to call you, I was like, really? So I was pretty surprised. He had called a while back before, I think that maybe you talked to other guys, and it just worked out in schedules. We were going to meet the day we did, and And like Coach said, we had played against each other. I think probably the only words I ever said to him, congratulations on the championship again, when they beat us the 2 times. So I really didn't ever talk to him a lot prior to that. So going into the meeting, I'm going, okay, this will probably be an hour or 2, I'll talk to him. And like I said, it was almost 6 hours we talked. Jumped on the plane to come out here in New York. We talked for 6 more hours. Then over the next 2 days, another 6 or 8 hours. And I said, I'm not sure I've talked that much in my life. So it was very easy to talk basketball, talk philosophy, and there was getting to meet Steve and talking to him that day when I got here. It just seemed like it fit for me, and I was hoping that it fit for them, so they'd give me that opportunity. And so I think it's going to be a great collaboration between all of us to get this team back going.
Justin Walters, 5 News. You mentioned your early conversations with Kirk Rambis. Have you spoken with any of the players or even met them in person, Carmelo, Porzingis, and what were those conversations like?
Yeah, well, Carmelo I saw when I came in for the interview, talked to him a little bit. Again, all these guys, now that I'm here and have the job officially, I like to meet with all of them and talk to them and before they come back here if they're in their cities. Kristaps, just through text messages, talked to him. He wanted to make sure that I knew that he was working hard. And these guys, guys love to play basketball. And so I think when a new opportunity comes for them, it's almost like a new beginning. They'll be excited to play. And again, from the talks I've had with them already, they're looking forward to the beginning of the season already.
You were in a situation that was unusual with Phoenix where at one point you guys had 2 starting caliber point guards and then you guys signed a 3rd. Looking at this roster, it's debatable as to whether there's that type of player on it. How do you see kind of trying to work with that or around that? And I guess secondly, how do you kind of theorize what you see Porzingis as being with the league kind of being more of a do-it-all sort of league and 3-point shooting for bigs, especially for him, but also kind of the tenets of this offense wanting guys to be able to post up as well and have that sort of versatility?
Well, first of all, in the point guard situation, right now on the roster is Jose and Jarian, and they're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum there. We'll work with either one of them. If there's something out there that these guys in free agency or whatever, bringing that kind of guy in between that can maybe help to guide a younger point guard or lend some assistance to the older point guard, that would be making our team better. If they're here, we work with them. We've worked, obviously, you've known some of the point guards we've had in Phoenix. We've had very good success with some of these guys to get them to new levels who are young players. So it's exciting to work with all of them. And with Kristaps, again, you don't see a guy 7'3" that can do multiple things. And in our offense, you could see him in some high pick and rolls out of the sets we have, fading for threes. At 7'3", I still believe you can get him on the post, and if a team wants to try to play him with a small guy and get up into him, then we can throw him down there and take advantage of his height in there. So is he still 19 or is he 20?
20.
It's 20. So when you have a guy at 20 years old and see what he can do already, there's going to be high expectations, and we're going to help to push him to get to those levels. We know he will be, because if you can do that at 19 or 20, most of the guys in this league really come into their own, in the 24, 25, 26-year-old range. And so he's got such a bright future that it's going to be off the charts for him.